Yo, my name's Alpha Omega. I'm a Splatoon series speedrunner that has a focus on Octo Expansion as my main game. And this is going to be a tutorial, much akin to my last one, on the escape sequence, but this time focusing on the A line here in any percent for Octo Expansion. I'm going to be breaking up the metro section, as it's called, or the metro part of the run, the deep sea metro itself, or whatever it's called in your local language. I don't know. I'm just playing in English because obviously I speak English. But I'm going to be breaking the metro section up into 3 separate videos. This first one you're watching now is going to be on the A line, because that is basically sort of like the foundation of the run. And then the 2 videos after this are going to be on the right side of Metro and the left side of Metro, respectively. Um, I'm not sure which one I'm going to do first. I'll figure that out at some point. But, yeah. Not much else to say about this other than, getting right into it. So, yeah, let's do that. I am playing as Boy Octoling in this. Character customization does not matter whatsoever. So, if you wanted to have a female Octoling, do that. If you want to have a boy Octoling, do that. Entirely your choice. It makes no difference whatsoever with the RNG in this game, unlike Splatoon 3 Hero Mode, where it actually matters. Um, but I digress. So, yes, as I mentioned, this is going to be focusing on the A line, and a lot of it is going to be broken down. Actually, I'm going to pause for a moment. A lot of it's going to be broken down specifically if you're doing right side first or left side first. I'll explain more when we get to the map of the Deep Sea Metro itself. But the fastest way to go through, the Metro sequence is down to the fact that there are 2 things on each side. So there's 2 on the left side, 2 on the right side. And the way that we play Metro is taking the fastest routes between all 4 of them. That path ends up being 21 levels long, and the A line kind of, sort of takes up 7 of those. You then have, what I would consider like 7 on the right side, 6 on the left side. But just because of how things shake out in terms of where you start, it'll end up being closer to like, it's like, I want to say in my mind, it's like 10 levels on, no, it's 11 levels total on right side, 10 on left side. But that's just, again, or it's pretty close to 10-10. Which, there's 21 levels total is what I'm trying to get at. And we're taking the fastest route between them is the long and short of it. And that's why I'm breaking this down into 3 separate videos, about 7 levels each. Obviously, this beginning section is tutorial. These ink puddles here are basically random, in terms of size. Like, they could be up to about like this size, and they can be touching. If they're not touching, though, the fastest way to move between them is to just swim in them quickly and then go back into kid form. Because you swim faster than you walk unless you're on dry land, in which case running is faster. Plain and simple. So it's just more of that. You're going to be seeing me do a little swim here on this ink puddle right here, the one that's to my left. With this one, you want to make sure that if you're going to be doing this swim, that the ink puddle extends beyond the rail to the right. If it's on the rail or to the left, you're not going to want to take it, because then you risk running into these boxes / turnstiles / whatever these things are, and losing time. And at the end of the day, you're maybe saving like 0.3, 0.5 of a second. You're saving less than a second, so it's not vital by any stretch of the imagination. Basically just running here in a straight line, straight to the trigger launch pad thingy. I don't know. And then this beginning section is 2 rows of shots from the Splattershot Jr., followed by a bomb thrown forward. basically just to pop this balloon fish, which will then spread our ink enough. And then this is the first, like, sort of skip of the run, if you want to say. If you hop up here onto this ledge, you end with a second jump. You can get enough distance to throw a bomb up into this grappling, which you can then use to just get straight to the key that's to the right. You do need the hop, or you do need the jump as far as I'm aware. I've tried it without the jump. I've never had issues with it, or I've never had good success with it. Pardon me. So, again, it's saving a little bit of time. If you want to take it slower, it's still faster. I'm just doing it fast here because I have experience doing it. And even then, that's a bit of a slower one for me. And then we're just going to be following the same path we inked on the way in, following it out. And then after that, it's just going to be like 2 minutes of cutscenes until we get to the next important thing. So I'm just going to skip forward because otherwise it is just mashing the A button repeatedly. And that's not exciting whatsoever. So yeah, we're going to get through here. Another thing to mention is that with these cutscenes, the language of your Switch, and specifically the language of the game, does matter. It also depends on which region you are from, or specifically which region your Switch and game are from, because they have to match. So if you have a European Switch and European copy of the game and the DLC by extension, Russian ends up being the fastest language, saving about, I think it's about like 7 to 8 seconds over North American English. Obviously, if you have a Japanese copy, Japanese is the second fastest language overall. And if you're from North America, like me, North American Spanish is the third fastest language, but the slowest of the three main ones, only saving about 3 seconds over English. Again, doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're getting up to like top level, once you're pushing like 107s, 108s, that, 3 or 4 seconds can come in extremely handy. But if you're just starting off, if you're treating this as a beginner's guide to speedrunning Octo Expansion, there is absolutely no need to worry about it. Just play the game in the language you're familiar with. Up next, we have our meeting with Sea Cucumber, or whatever he's called. If you don't want to be mashing constantly throughout this cutscene, just keep an eye on this line on the tiles. You'll notice that once Sea Cucumber has reached it, that's when he's going to start speaking. Or if you want to count the number of like bounces forwards he does, it's 11 of those. See? Right when he reached that line. But that's basically it for the beginning of the game. Actually, well, no, I say that, but A05 Fake Plastic Station is our first true level of the run. And it's also the level where most speedrunners will make their first split. If you're new to speedrunning and don't know what a split is, I can actually probably pull up my splits personally really quick. I just got to do a quick little... this should not take me more than like 20 seconds. There we go. There we go. These are my splits. You can obviously, they're right here. Basically what these are is they are basically the times that I use to compare to it basically breaks the run down from beginning to end in smaller chunks so I know how well I'm playing. You can see that I play right side first, but my first split is A05. So you're going to be looking at that to, basically, for me, I'm like, okay, my personal best, I got a 5:27. If I beat this level and my timer is at like 5:23, well, I know I'm playing better. And this is all of the levels in the game, all the way down to the escape sequence. If you're wondering why it's not labeled like escape sequence and statue, it's the lyrics to the Vocaloid song King, except I have right side first instead of left side. So That's the only difference there. But splits are super handy. You know, they tell you, like, okay, I played this level the fastest I ever have before, or hey, you know, I could use with some more practice on this level, or oh, well, in my personal best, I died in this level, so, you know, okay, I know I have time to save there. It's a very helpful tool. If you want a tutorial, just go onto YouTube, look up like LiveSplit tutorial, and you're going to be set from there. But with that, we go into A05, Fake Plastic Station, or again, whatever it is called in your local language. Once you've selected your weapon, this is going to be 2 text boxes from C Cucumber regardless of language, as far as I'm aware. So just make sure that you don't mash too hard to where you go back into weapon select. And then just more simple mashing until we get through those text boxes. The first strategy that we're going to be using here, we will end up, I've mentioned before, in the escape sequence. But it is important to know that most game effects, such as like throwing a bomb or your ink refilling, will continue to happen even during cutscenes. So what that means is that we end up throwing a bomb to this set of boxes that you can see in the background. And the visual cue we use for that is, if you look at this set, or this essentially line on the ground, once you pass about halfway over it, the cutscene will trigger. So we always try to throw the bomb to those boxes before the cutscene starts, and you'll see me do that here. So throw the bomb, trigger the cutscene. And the reason we do that is because if you remember, the boxes were like here-ish, sort of. And this Octoling is going to jump basically what would be behind the boxes. But since we've destroyed the boxes, now they're going to be out in the open for us to kill immediately. And they're always going to jump to that, or super jump to that same spot, regardless of where you are. So, knowing exactly where they are, you can go up, shoot them. Something you see me doing here, if you shoot at like the bottom of this door, your ink will actually go beneath it and paint all the way to the next checkpoint, which allows you to just swim through it. Another way to do that is there's an opening above the door right here, and you can shoot basically, if this is the door, you can shoot up and over it to the checkpoint, and then you get your paint here, and then you just swim forward. Both work, whatever feels better to you. Here we're going to have both a roller and umbrella. There's 2 ways to deal with this roller. You can either throw a bomb and have it land on their super jump and to immediately kill them, or my preferred method is to just shoot them. Technically, it is faster to throw a bomb, but if you throw the bomb and miss, you're in a world of hurt because you're going to be significantly lower on ink. So I always prefer just using my splatter shot to just kill them. And when it comes to the umbrella can go one of 2 ways from where it spawns in. It can go in this general vicinity and screw you up, or hopefully, and more often than not, it will go behind this row of trees that you see me hovering over with my cursor, and you want to wait to start shooting it until it reaches like halfway beyond this second tree. So like this sort of line on the ground. Once they're past there, they're still facing behind you, and they don't have the ability to turn around and block your shots with their umbrella shield. And you see me wait here, and then kill. Same thing here. You can shoot over. And then this enemy. The one that has inkjet. So, this is our first, if you want to say like manipulation of the run, where we're manipulating the AI of the Octoling. Basically, what we're going to do is, once we're out of the cutscene, you want to roll a bomb to where it lands at the base of this pillar. my sub-weapon is pointed a little bit too high in this moment, but I shift it down. And then you also want to be keeping an eye on where this octoling here rolls. So it can roll one of two ways. It can roll to the left, or it can roll to the right. In this specific example, the octoling ends up rolling to the right. So once that happens, I'm going to point my camera like over here, even further right of the octoling, and then just continue shooting my main weapon, which will then force the octoling back over into our bomb. And you'll see that in practice here. Throw the bomb, point over, the octoling goes right into our bomb. It's extremely consistent, and you are highly, highly unlikely to get an armor break as long as you don't move your left stick whatsoever. Basically, just take your hand off of it, your thumb off of it, whatever, and just use your camera and your gun to essentially push the enemy back into your bomb. And that's going to wrap up A05. And this is where we have the first split of the run, both in terms of, the timer, as I mentioned earlier, as well as a split in route selection, which I will go over briefly once we have the full map up. So, Octo Expansion is, as I mentioned before, is broken into two main halves of the Metro sequence. You have basically splitting from A05, you have left side, and you have right side. Most top-level runners will go right side first because of level J02, which is like here-ish. And that's because J02 is Matchmaster Station. It is commonly regarded as probably the hardest level in the run, especially at top level, because you are not only are you using the blaster, you are basically having to memorize a sequence of like 30 or something shots, and you have to execute it perfectly and quickly as well. So it's not easy in the slightest, and that's why we mostly do that one first. I think I have the placement slightly off here, but you end up getting a path that looks like this, sort of. There's the first thing we do, and then here's the second thing of right side, or close enough. You end up having, obviously, a level here, a level here, a level here, a level here, one level here, a level here, a level here, then thing, two levels, and then a thing. This does mean that you do have to play J03 Girl Power Station. I will get to that in my video on right side specifically, but it is not nearly as bad as its reputation can be. But I'm getting ahead of myself. The main reason we have this split, and then correction, let me get my thoughts together properly before speaking. That would help. And then we have left side, which goes basically like this, with a thing here and a thing here. And levels here, 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 and here. The main reason you'd want to do right side or left side first is because of level A04, which is this one right here. That is can't touch the station, commonly regarded to in the community as damageless. Depending on your comfort with, right side versus left side, most people this will end up being your second to last level of Metro, and can really be a mental block, because you can end up you can easily lose a minute on it overall. So it is not something to be, put aside. It is absolutely a level you have to practice. And as you can tell, if you're like all the way to this thing here on left side, you don't want to be having to menu all the way back over to here on right side, which is why you see the main split of routing of left side first or right side first. And basically, that split comes down to which would you rather play first? Would you rather play Damageless or would you rather play Matchmaster? Personally, I prefer playing Matchmaster first because your hands need to be so much steadier for Matchmaster compared to Damageless. And there's a lot more, I mean, relatively speaking, there's a lot more room for error in Damageless compared to Matchmaster. If you make a mistake in the later stages of Matchmaster, that's it. That's it for the run. You're losing 40 seconds minimum, probably closer to a minute, with one small mistake. Not a, oh, well, I kind of messed up this little bit, but it's not the end of the world because I'm still alive. It is one mistake, you're done. Or one major mistake, I should say. The only other route that I personally have seen be effective is a route I would call 8-ball first. This used to be run by a runner called Tones Ballones. You may know him as one of the greatest Splatoon speedrunners of all time, I would argue. He also showed this game off at Games Done Quick, Awesome Games Done Quick 2019, if my memory serves me correct. And that's the route he did at this marathon. Basically, this level here on left side and this level here on right side, the two circled in orange, those are the two 8-ball levels in the run. So what 8-ball first implies is that you do these two levels on left side first, and then you just finish with right, and then you basically just do right side first. And that's just because the 8-ball levels can be hit or miss at the best of times. And getting them done and out of the way early can be favorable to some people. But that is about the limit that I would recommend, going into one side before doing the other. Because once you get to, like, here, whatever this level is, if you get this thing and then just start doing right side and ignoring these 3 levels here, you're just gonna be losing time due to menuing. So it doesn't really make that much sense. I mean, in theory, it is doable, just not recommended in the slightest. Because again, menuing. With that though, that's enough talk on routing. But now is where I want to mention, I guess I'll call them the post-level text boxes, of which there are 3 main ones. So you'll have to excuse me because I'm doing this with a mouse. The first one, and by far the least common, is no text. That will show up a handful of 4 times throughout the run. That's going to be from level A04 to level B01. It's going to be from level I05, or no, correction, I04 to I03. It's going to be from level A06 to A07. And then it's going to be level D07 to J03. Those are going to be the 4 instances of where there will be no text boxes after the level. And these ones are important to keep in mind because if you end up like getting, too much into the rhythm of mashing the A button, these are by far the easiest levels to mismenu on and enter the same level you just beat. And the issue with mismenuing is that it is a 15-second time loss guaranteed, depending on how long the load is into the level that you accidentally selected. I've done it before in personal best runs. I've lost runs to miss menus. It is a punch to the gut. I've had miss menus going into collect the fourth thing and losing 15 seconds before the very end of Metro. It is heartbreaking at times because there's nothing else you can do. You just have to eat the time loss. Um, but those are fairly limited. But it's important to keep them in mind. The second type we have are I will call them CQ texts. These will only happen when you unlock a new line. So, and those are determinable by if they have a square on the map. If my memory serves, obviously we have the three here on A line. So here, here, and here. You'll unlock the D line here. You unlock the, I believe it is the H line, I want to say, after the shower boss fight, which then gets you to a thing. This is the C line here, which is actually the line that has a thing on it, about here-ish. But because we unlocked the B line early, we don't have to see it again at this level here, if that makes sense. We have one here on left side, and then we have one here, and then obviously this one here. After each of those levels, you will have CQ Cucumber basically say, "Hey, you unlocked a new line. Come see me for a reward. I'd like get some of these awesome points." We don't want his points. You have enough points to last the entire run, assuming you don't run out of lives in a level. Even then, you should have more than enough. And the CQ text boxes will always close your menu, so you'll have to press the X button or whatever button you have a menu mapped to bring the menu back up so you can select the next level. The last one that you're going to see are the marina text boxes. And specifically, these are the ones for the chat logs. Basically, if it's not a CQ text and if it's not a no text box, you're going to get a marina one. There are 2 levels in which you will get both marina and CQ Cumber, and that's going to be after the shower boss fight, and that's going to be after No Whammy Station, which is the last level in left side, which is the Octo Zeppelin Protect the Orb. But I will get to that level, I will get to those 2 respective levels when I touch on their halves of Metro respectively. But again, those are very, very limited. So just keep those 3 text boxes in mind, or those 3 scenarios in mind. Although above all, make sure that you remember the no text boxes, because that's where you can lose the most time. All right, now with that out of the way, we can finally move on to the next level after a cutscene. So, as I mentioned, I have a preference for doing right side first, so you'll see me do that menuing here. To A06 Bounce With Me Station. And this is a good time to bring up global cycles. You can actually see the first one out in the distance here to the right. Right in this square here. There's going to be a little platform spinning around. You can kind of see it. But from the moment you load into a level, global cycles will start on their timer. And that's why you see me doing a jump shot here. It's to keep my overall speed higher. There is a faster cycle that you can hit here, but I would only recommend learning it once you're to the levels of like, about a 111, 110, maybe even lower than that, because you're maybe saving like 7 seconds by learning fast cycle. And if you fail fast cycle, you basically, most players will just reset off of a failed fast cycle here in A06, even if you're playing it as the second level of the run. So I'm not going to be doing that here in this tutorial. I'm going to be doing the standard cycle. But as I mentioned, with a global cycle, you want to make sure that you're still progressing in the level at a fast rate. And the difference between a fast cycle or not a fast cycle, a global cycle and a local cycle is that a local cycle will only start when you basically reach a certain part in the level. Which there is one here in A06, and that's basically from if you want to split the level into two halves before and after the lockbox. After the lockbox is a local cycle, before it is a global. So off the top, you basically just swim straight forward and then hold B to get high bounces. You should need 4 high bounces to get all the way up. Shoot a path forward, obviously. And then I just recommend doing mostly high bounces here. Paint the wall. And then you just want to make sure that this Octo or this ink thing is like, you want to make sure that it's not like at 90 degrees to the side, like here. Because if it's there, then you're kind of like screwed. So if you need to just wait a little bit, because we're going to be using a high jump to go basically across this gap. It looks a lot scarier than it is. It might take a couple of tries for you to get it, but it is super easy to get into your muscle memory. And then just bouncing along, making sure that you can collect this key with ease. Shoot the sponge, hop up, go over. Not insanely difficult. This checkpoint, the method I use is I just swim forward and make sure to hold forward on the left stick the entire time. Wait until the Octo Sniper is about to shoot, which there will be a visual cue as well as an audible cue. Dodge out of the way, bounce one more time, and then throw a bomb at the Octo Sniper's feet. It almost always kills him without fail. So wait, dodge, bounce, throw, and dead. With this cannon, cannons have a weird property in this game. They are the only weapon or only fireable weapon that will track momentum. So if you like push your camera to like the side, it's going to have more momentum to go to that side. And this plays into a factor here because when we enter the cannon, our camera will shake up and down slightly. And if you fire while your camera is still shaking a little bit, that's going to end up being bad because you're going to misfire. So you'll see it here. I just slowed down the video for ease. You'll see that the camera bounces up and down repeatedly, or specifically the firing reticle. So you want to wait for it to settle before shooting, and then just make sure that you get it into the fan. Once you're confident that you've gotten it into the fan, what you can do is once you fire the shot, use your blaster to paint a path beneath your feet, swim, and jump. And it should get you onto the bounce pad every time. After that, I think it's like 4 jumps and then a high jump. Yeah. And then just paint the wall. You see me doing some edge bounces here on this bounce pad to get a little bit of extra forward momentum. Don't worry about that if you're just starting off. That is absolutely, from my time as a top level speedrunner, as well as being the world record holder on this level specifically, just it's muscle memory for me at this point to, you know, aim for the edge to give myself a little bit of extra forward momentum. And then this last checkpoint, you're just waiting until these things get out of your way so you have a clear path to the end. And don't forget you have high bounces which get you over them. And that's A06. Pretty simple level. And as I mentioned, A06 to A07, or Bounce With Me Station to Maverick Station, is one of the 4 transitions where we don't have text. And you'll see that here. There's no extra messaging. I could just go right into the next level. So again, it's important to keep that in mind, just so that you don't, like, miss menu into A06 again. A07 Maverick Station is our second instance of a global cycle in the run, if you're doing right side first. And it is the location of our first true skip of the run, Maverick Skip. There are 2 methods of doing it. There's a slightly more advanced one, which I will not be teaching, that saves about 2 seconds over the normal route, or 2 seconds over the normal method of doing Maverick Skip. Maverick Skip overall probably saves about 10 to 15 seconds. As I mentioned, this is a level that focuses on global cycles, so you're going to be wanting to mash through your menus as fast as you can, which you'll see me do here. So I select my weapon, wait until I'm off the pad, and then start mashing A repeatedly, which is why I end up talking to C Cucumber here. It's just because I am, you know, repeatedly pressing the A button as fast as I can to where I enter the level as soon as possible. If you're going to be doing a beginning or a beginner to intermediate, or no, a beginner's Maverick Skip, you're immediately going to go off to the right here. Feel free to just go over the gap. You're going to be fine. Shoot the drum, and then you're going to be shooting this enemy here because we need this platform to be clear to do Maverick Skip. So what Maverick Skip entails is using the initial height boost from being above the ground on Inkjet. If you know, you hover a little bit, and then once you're, you know, if you're on the ground, if you go into like swim form, you get an initial push up. We're going to be using that initial push up to give us some extra distance forward, as well as 2 like mid-air bounces. So it kind of looks like bounce, bounce, to reach the final checkpoint of the level and then die, to basically skip all of this. So as I said, it saves about, like, you know, about 10 to 15 seconds, I would think I said was the number. I may be incorrect on that, but just for ease, I'm going to show this in half speed. So you land on this platform in swim form. Line yourself up basically with the edge. Go into kid form, or basically let go of ZR. Use the initial boost up to push you forward a little bit. Use your first boost relatively early on. A good visual cue is this edge of the neon sign in terms of height. You want to basically be level with it, but you don't want to run into its like invisible hitbox, which is roughly in this area. Because if you run into it, you're going to lose horizontal speed, which then makes it much, much trickier, if not impossible, if you lose too much speed to make the skip. And specifically, you kind of want to aim underneath the drum here as like your guide point, because weirdly there's like extra room before you hit the kill plane if you do it here. I don't understand it entirely, but you're basically aiming right into this area here to do Maverick Skip. So we've already used the one boost. I'm mashing away at the B button, getting the second one, going underneath the drum, and if you notice, I hit the final checkpoint and then die. If you want to see that in full speed, up, boost, boost, checkpoint. So that's Maverick Skip. It will absolutely take you some practice to get it, but it is arguably the most consistent skip in the run because there's nothing that changes about it. And it looks really cool. But once you spawned on the final checkpoint, a single shot to activate the drums, dodge the enemy shot, hit the grappling, and you're at the goal. After the third level you play, so in this case it is Mavericks. Yeah, it's Maverick. Yeah, after the third level you play, you're always going to get the talk with Marina about, hey, we have chat logs that you can check out. Depending on language, that's either going to be 3 to 5 text boxes. In English, it is 5. In Spanish and Russian, it is 4. I forget how many it is in Japanese. And weirdly, in French, it is 3. Don't ask me why French has the fastest on this specific text box. But French is significantly slower overall, so we don't run it for that exact reason. But yes, it's going to be 5 text boxes here in English. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then menuing into CO3 A08 Bumpin 8-ball station. This is the first of the 2 8-ball stations that you will run into if you are doing right side first. And I'm going to go ahead and explain what is basically the most frustrating level type here in Octo Expansion, which are the 8-balls. That is well known given that it has been almost 7 years since this DLC's release. And I think that opinion holds true. A lot of people think it's where you shoot on the 8-ball. I'm going to now say that is entirely false. Where you shoot on the 8-ball does not matter. There is only one factor that matters when you are shooting the 8-ball. Okay? Draw a line. Or draw a box around your player character. Weapon not included. Draw a box around the 8-ball. These are very, very roughly the hitboxes of the player character, your Octoling, and the 8-ball. You're going to draw a point in the middle of your character, in the middle of your Octoling. You're going to draw a dot at the middle of the 8-ball. Draw a straight line through them. That's where the 8-ball is going, disregarding all momentum. That's it. That's how the 8-ball works in this game. Where your gun is in relation to the 8-ball does not matter. Where you shoot on the 8-ball does not matter. The only thing that will matter is where your character is in relation to the 8-ball. And obviously momentum. But that is it. If you want to practice 8-balls and make sure that you fundamentally understand how they work, that's the basis you need to go off of. Obviously, there's always going to be some level of jank to it, especially given that, you have to deal with momentum. But it's also why I recommend trying to stay close to the 8-ball regardless of where you are. Because the further away you are, the less fine-tuning you have over the exact angle you can push it at. Because you're further away, so the angles become significantly weirder. For example, box here, here's your player character. You have all of this room and you're not really moving that far. Whereas if you're back here, so you have this sort of thing. If you're back here, you have a much narrower amount of room to move before you're getting to really weird movements. Which is a very roundabout way of saying, yeah, just practice 8-ball. It's the only way you're going to get good at it. This first checkpoint, it is important, as I mentioned, stay close to the 8-ball. You want to try and basically be at the base of this sponge and shoot forward. Make sure you kill that enemy. You can weirdly get a boost up here. Like, it's really stupid because, look, I'm still in my ink, and I'm halfway onto the boost pad before I get a jump. This boost panel is weird. Don't worry about it. Fire the 8-ball off to about, like, halfway to, like, 3/4 the way down the boost panel to make sure it lands up on these sponges. If it kills these enemies here, cool. If not, no big deal. And then you're basically immediately pushing it to the left. And you can see I'm trying to get as close to the 8-ball as I can whenever possible. As I mentioned earlier, you want to stay close to it. This checkpoint is infamously a bit difficult, mostly because of how most people approach it. Most people will instinctively push it straight down the center into this boost pad and just have it bounce back and forth, and then just push it to the side with their gun when they feel ready. The way I recommend doing it, and this is the way a lot of top-level speedrunners end up doing it, we basically try to aim to get the 8-ball right into this corner here, basically right on this corner of the ledge, and then we end up throwing a burst bomb to the left of the 8-ball, which will then inherently push it to the right. And then we don't have to even, like, worry about getting it into this boost panel here. We can just do it in one smooth motion, and you'll see that here. Aiming for the corner, burst bomb to the left. Obviously, it takes practice to get the timing of when the burst bomb is going to hit. But as you can see, straight over into the wall, no issues whatsoever. This little section here is pretty simple. You can actually get these guys to help you boost this to the right, or to the left, correction. And I know that, and I personally, from experience, know that the sponges will slow down your shots very, very fast, or will slow down the 8-ball very, very fast. So I'm not worrying too much about this here, about these boost panels. Once you're on the last checkpoint, final checkpoint, you want to make sure that the 8-ball basically stays within your field of view at all times, because if it goes out of your view, things get really weird really fast. But with this checkpoint, this is my least favorite checkpoint in the entire game. Cut and dry. I have severe issues with, I have several issues with how this was designed, but, you know, I'm not the game designer here. I'm the speedrunner. Basically, anytime the 8-ball hits one of these numerous boost panels, it gains a lot of speed very fast. And it will get into a pattern of just bouncing back and forth, back and forth. If it hits this back panel here, it's going to get a lot of momentum this way. So avoid this panel at all costs. What I would recommend doing for anyone who's new to Octo Expansion, as soon as you can, stop the 8-ball dead in its tracks and ignore the enemies to start. Or correction, ignore the enemies to start, stop the 8-ball, and once it has been stopped, then go kill the enemies. Even if you stop it, like, in this back third, and then go kill the enemies, it's a lot better than trying to push the ball forward while dealing with the enemies. Because the enemies will always basically focus on whatever's closest. You're the 8-ball. So if they're closer to the 8-ball, they're going to be focused on that and shooting it. And shooting it causes issues, and them shooting it causes issues because you can't control it. Which is why I say, stop the 8-ball and then go kill the enemies first. And you'll see I don't do that here, and it causes me a lot of issues. Like, it's still going forward. I have not stopped it, and now I'm having trouble, like, I'm like, okay, well, let me stop it. Well, I didn't stop it. Okay, let me stop it again. I still haven't stopped it. Let me try stopping it again. Okay, still haven't stopped it. It takes me like 5 or 6 tries to get it. And then you have me completely forgetting how to get this into the end goal, but that is besides the point. But that's A03, A08. And that's where I'm going to be stopping right side for now, because that's going to take us into the Iso Padre cutscene, or the first one. So the way that I'm going to be doing it from here is I'm going to be showing what it would look like if you did the left side first. And that's just for ease of editing. So now we go into A04 Roll Out Station. This is the only baller level we do in the run, but it's not the only permanent special we do in the run, because we do the shower boss fight with permanent inkjet, and Escape 5 has permanent inkjet. Oh, and Maverick Station. I forgot that one. But there's not much to talk about in this one, so I'm just going to let it play through. This is another global cycle level, but one that is far less consequential than Bounce With Me Station. For most beginners, if you follow this exact route that I do, you're going to have, as long as you practice it, you're going to have no issues whatsoever with, getting a solid enough time here. You want to make sure to use a long jump here. Basically hold B the entire time. Same thing here. And make sure that you're jumping at the edge of the platforms, otherwise you can get weird side grabs. And then here you're just going to go immediately to the right to get up onto these platforms. Once you start falling down, and basically, or I should say, once you've reached the apex of your boost up, you can start charging up the baller to explode, which will pop the end goal immediately, and you can just grab it. There is a faster cycle on that one called Left Side. We are very creative with our naming scheme here in the Splatoon speedrunning community. But it is a lot more difficult and really only saves like a second. So don't bother learning it from the start. Up next is going to be B01 A03 Station, or Wassup 8-Ball Station. This is yet another instance of global cycles. And this is our second major skip of the run, or, second major skip I'll show you here on A line. And that's Seesaw Skip. So you can see like this seesaw thing up in the top right corner. That's going to be rolling back and forth throughout the entire level. And we're going to be pushing the 8-ball over it with our gun when the game wants us to use a balloon fish, saving about like 20-ish seconds over not doing Seesaw Skip, doing the intended route. But a lot of this is, more of what I talked about in the first 8-ball level, is just practicing with the 8-ball and making sure that, you have the skills that you need to push it, correctly, and just familiarity with it. Off the top, just wait until the ball like rolls like a quarter or a third of the way down this ramp before shooting it, maybe even halfway, because then you're going to get a guaranteed kill here. And then you see me doing a lot of like short bursts of shots rather than like long streams, and that's because short bursts of shot will give you finer control over the 8-ball. Here, I just use this wall to bank it to the right. And then I make sure that the 8-ball hits this panel back here and starts rolling back towards me. That way I know that it can't fall off. So shoot it forward. Here, I know this checkpoint has often given a lot of people problems. It gave me a lot of problems when I first started. Again, just do a bunch of tap shots. Follow along with the 8-ball. I do almost die there, but get a little bit lucky. And then this is going to be where we're doing Seesaw Skip. So otherwise, you would have to literally do all walking along this... I drew on the wrong screen. Whoops. All along this side here. Whereas, by doing Seesaw Skip, you skip all of this. And save like 20-25 seconds. So you want to line up the 8-ball in the center of the platform. And yes, you are able to move the 8-ball by just pushing it around with your player character. It gives you a lot more fine control over the 8-ball. And then doing as I said before, you want to line up the center of your player character with the ball, and then when it's basically just reaching down, you want to shoot it. I actually shoot a little bit too long and almost missed that jump there. If the 8-ball is in the center of the platform, you can just wait until the seesaw swings back to you. It won't fall off. If it's solidly in the middle and going straight down the middle, it won't fall off. And then you just finish shooting it forward, and then you go straight into the goal, and that's seesaw skip. I'll show that uncut, unpaused one more time. So lining it up, waiting for the seesaw to tip back my way, shooting it, and jumping up to meet it. Again, another one of those skips that's going to take you time to practice, but grand scheme of things, not the end of the world. And then that's going to bring us onto the final level that I'm going to show on A-Line. Now you might be saying, hey, well, what about A01? G06 A01 is a significantly more difficult station than the rest of A-Line. So that's going to be in the left side video. So there we go. This is our only multiplayer simulation level, as I call it. This is going to be Rainmaker on Port Mackerel. And this is, outside of the actual auto-scroller levels, the most auto-scroller-like level we have in the run. Because once you grab the Rainmaker, it is a series of 4 consistent shots. I'm dead serious. So once we get out of this small cutscene, obviously you're going to be swimming to the right, painting for yourself so that you're swimming. We always paint in front of us because swimming is faster than walking, plain and simple. But use one of your bombs to pop the Rainmaker shield faster. They have massively buffed the power of your shots on the Rainmaker shield, as well as bombs on the Rainmaker shield here in single player compared to multiplayer. So always utilize that. And then your first shot is going to be off to the left here. I always recommend jumping from the end of your path just to give you that little bit more distance, and that does come into play a couple of times. So first one here to give myself a better look at this shot, where you want to be sure that you are breaking this splash wall right here, because you want to you need to break this splash wall to continue. So just make sure that you have enough distance on your shot to break it. A jump forward here, just another straight shot forward. If you kill this Octoling versus not killing it, it doesn't really matter too much in the end. I mean, either way, they can't kill you. The last shot is the trickiest. You're basically trying to hit this narrow little slice here. Because if you're too far to the left, you're going to hit this little ledge here and probably end up dying. But you still need to paint a path for yourself. But it's a pretty easy shot, and it will almost always ink the end pedestal. And then you just want to hug this left wall, because if you hug the left wall, this enemy that spawns in here, this one, they're going to try to shoot you, and they can't shoot through the floor. It's simple. It's simple physics. They can't shoot you through the floor. So if you hug the wall, they can't shoot you. It's simple as that. And there you go. And then you're finishing off the last level of what I would really consider A-Line. And then if you were playing left side first, which I was doing in this specific example, this is where you would end up getting the Isopadre cutscene. So there you go. That is the A-Line. If you do have any questions about specific strats, feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you're one of the many speedrunners watching this, and I missed something, feel free to leave a comment as well. I missed something on my last one, on my escape one. So yeah, just feel free to correct me down in the comments below. I will take no offense to it whatsoever. All right, and with that, I will see you all next week for part 3 in this series of 4 videos, discussing one of the other sides of Metro. All right, see you nerds later.